Every time I walk up to this computer, the audio devices are set wrong. All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Moonhawk Studios Presents, and hopefully you heard the theme song, and if you didn't, oh well. My name is Matt Collida, and we didn't have a
Well,
show. I don't even care anymore at this point. We're professionally unprofessional, and that's just how it goes sometimes.
pardon our dust, folks. We're live.
I'll
Yep.
fix it in post. Isn't that like the death knell of any editing job?
Yeah, but then they usually actually do it. Screams internally after having to fix fucking
Well,
fragments.
well,
Criminy.
well, at least we're on the air and talking now with 90 seconds into the show instead of having like 30 minutes of dead air.
Well, I just wondered why the sound icon didn't show up on my Stream Manager tab, and I was just like, I unmuted it, and then I was just like, there's nothing there.
Oh, no.
So, again, in case you missed it, I'm Mac Paladin, and this is Moonhawk Studios Presents, and of course, the rest of the crew is here. Let's go down the list here. We got my good friend Adam in the studio.
We have a show this week.
I know, right? Kevin's in the house.
Without a doubt, somehow.
Petty Fan is here.
Oh god, is this what it's like to be alive again?
Right. And we've got the Golics.
Yes.
You could do like Gunshin on my Paladin show and just be like, hello. Speaking of my other shows, Varias is not here this week. She's taking at least 2 weeks off to try to get things moving again on her end as far as like art and life. So she's taking a mini hiatus across the board from all streaming. So no games, no nothing. We did Paladins on Monday, and that was the end point. We just
recharge.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just been one thing after another. Let's get to the news. Adam, we'll start off with you.
Let's see. Got a new mouse. Old one broke. Scroll wheel stopped working properly. It was annoying, especially when you're in the middle of a review for a first-person shooter.
Why?
Had to use my Xbox Series X controller there for a bit, and as awful as you think it is.
See, now my gameplay has actually significantly improved once I started using my Xbox One controller.
Yeah, I still can't do FPSs with a controller. Look,
certainly if you're used to really twitch aiming, that mouse is better for that.
Right. It's not just the aiming, it's the movement feels not good as well. At least for that game. But, got a new mouse, and it's working, well, like a mouse should. And, that's really all the news I got this week.
All right, Kevin, what's cooking with you?
Nothing really much different than the usual week of being at the AMC greeting every weekend, and nothing really much new so as of yet. I mean, I'm a couple of weeks away from my another week off for me. But that's not for another, I think, 2-3 weeks. So, basically nothing new for me down here.
Alrighty then, Petty Fan.
We're finally getting a air conditioner for the upstairs. A large window unit that's gonna cost me and my sister about $1,000. So I hope to God this one doesn't, break in like 2 to 3 years. So yeah, that should be coming on Monday. So hopefully no more roasting in the summer. And yeah, just kind of waiting for the weekend because new Digimon stuff's coming out.
Hmm.
Oh boy.
Yeah, card games, woo! I guess next victim.
Galix, what's cooking?
Not too much. They finally fixed the air conditioner at work after like 3 days, and our office gets quite hot in the afternoon, so that's good. Um, this coming weekend is actually apparently when my grandma's moving in with us, so that'll take
That'll be
some
fine.
getting used to.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of happens when you think it's going to be in a couple months. For a couple months, suddenly it's very soon.
Indeed.
Anyway, video game wise, still working through Kirby and the Forgotten Land and getting close to the end. I'm on the last 2-part stage of the main story of Super Robot Wars 30, so that's good. There's still a bunch of post game and stuff, and some side stuff, but it's the end of the main thing. Let's see. I think that's probably it. I'm also looking forward to new Digimon cards, but I don't think I can't go to any of the pre-releases at our store, and I don't even know if they're going to have it right away, but soon, hopefully.
This is why it pays to be friends with the manager.
Oh, I am kind of friends with the manager, so sometimes I get some of the bonuses for the pre-release stuff, even if I can't actually make it to the thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
I see.
I think that's about it.
All right.
Oh, yeah, and Mac would probably want me to say that we started... actually, technically, we started last week when we didn't have a show. Trying to do SD Gundam G Generation 0 on stream since we finished MS Saga.
Yes.
And I'm trying to translate what I can and provide context for stuff, but I think for entirely non-me related reasons, the intro to that game is kind of weak. Like, if you've seen Gundam and are a huge fan of it, I guess you might be interested in, like, the parts of the 1 Year War before the actual show starts, but that ends up resulting in you doing 2 battles with no named characters. And one of them has a unwinnable objective, so...
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean,
Not exactly the strongest start.
I mean, you may be able to break the game if you apply cheats, but
Yes, my Saberfish has 10 move and
fires
Wing
your
Gundam
missiles.
And Wing Gundam Zero's twin buster rifle, so I can actually shoot down the colony before it lands in Australia.
One shot the colony, do 100,000 damage to it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Also have 100% evasion, so that way if we get attacked.
Or Gundanium armor or something.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that was annoying. It starts out with something that is canon from this series, and then it's not very interesting, and it's
like
frustrating.
the biggest fan service part of it is, oh hey, here's a bunch of characters that are either enemies in the anime or are in popular other side material. You get to fight them, but you can't win very much.
On the upside, I did shoot down Char,
Yes, we did shoot down Char.
which is always satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, kids. Old Mackie P here has been quite the stitch for the last few weeks. If it's not one thing, it's another. Car was repoed by the bank for about 48 hours, and I had to enlist parental unit help, which always creates acrimony in the family.
Yeah.
At least it's better than selling people.
We're selling things.
You know, I hear you can get $100,000 for a left kidney now. But I don't know. At my age and relative level of health, I might need to keep both of them since they may not be entirely functional. So there's that. It's like, well, we would have given you the money for it, but it's only half functional, so we're only going to give you half price. Oh, that's great.
50K.
Adam with the silver lining there.
Oh, boy.
But
That'll be fine.
so that was the first thing, and then of course for the last 6 months they've been constantly, instead of just putting out a notice saying, "Hey, by the way, we're going to send pest control to inspect your apartment," they've been putting this pursuant to ARS 33 blah blah blah, and if you do not comply, we'll terminate your lease.
I assume there are reasons for that, but I guess it's not fun.
Well, it's like are that many people that like not in compliance that you have to now put out threatening letters when for like the entirety. I've been on this property now for 9 years, for 9.5 years.
So I hear your question, but on the other hand, you live in Arizona.
Yeah, but it's right. But here's the thing: it's like for 9.5 years, I've been on this property. They have been generally pleasant about everything. They put out letters saying, "Hey, we need to enter the apartment," blah blah blah. And now it's all failure to comply. You know, it's like, all right, 7 of 9, Jesus Christ. You know, hold on there, legal. There's no need to threaten me. It's like I'll, put the cats in boxes and hide them, and
Worst comes to worst, I'll hide the landlord.
Yeah, well, I'm about ready to hide the landlord because they don't fix shit around here, and they're sitting here quoting ARS statute, Arizona revised statutes to me, and I'm like, what about the Arizona revised statutes about you not being a fucking slumlord? The fact that I had to repair the ceiling that had mold and mildew in it myself because you wouldn't fucking do anything. And if I go to see, and everybody's like, well, Mac, I mean, there's laws. You can go to city environmental and you can do this and you can do that. Yeah. And you know what's funny? Is that while you're fighting the anti-retaliation, you're homeless. And the question is, would you want to stay on a property that you are currently in conflict with? Because that just doesn't end well.
No, it does not. And there's a few on the street, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, and just right now, I need to get some shit straightened out before I move out of here. So it's like, in the immortal words of Sheriff Buford T. Justice, one shit at a time.
Yeah.
Solve my finances, then worry about finding new housing. But it seems like every other week they're putting a notice on the door, inspecting for bugs, this and that. Oh, we have to enter for this. They got to turn the water main off because it's in my backyard. Just on and on and on. And it's been ongoing now for like 6 months. They suddenly decided, well, COVID's been solved. It hasn't. Spoiler alert.
No.
The COVID's been solved, so now we're going to be aggressive about all the stuff we didn't do for 2 years. So that's kind of where we are right now. So it's like between dealing with creditors that I have ghosted.
That's not smart.
Yeah.
And getting my car repoed and not getting thrown out of my apartment. It's been a hell of a time. So today they sent Burns Pest Control in. They sent us this lengthy checklist that we had to, sign off and hand to the person. And the guys get here and they're like, "Oh, did you clear out your kitchen cabinets completely?" And I'm like, "No, that wasn't on the list." And they said, "Yeah, that's a problem. well, we'll go ahead and do the regular bug spraying, and then we'll have to reschedule this. And I said, I'm not going to have to pay for it like they threatened on the letter, am I? And they're like, they said, no, because that's not your fault. That's the fact that my boss didn't give your landlord the right form, and a bunch of people didn't know, so nobody cleared out their kitchen cabinets.
So it wasn't just you.
No, there was quite a few people. Hey, Tippy. But we had to get, basically, Kira and Kelly had to pack up all of our animals and go to their new friend's place a few miles away for 6.5 hours. Because we didn't know when they were coming. They showed up at right at 10, by the way. And,
well, at least they're on the dot.
yeah. They give us that be ready between 9 and 5, and I'm like, okay. So they had to basically take all and Tippy. We rescued him as a part feral. Like Doodles, literally, as soon as I opened the cage, she just walked in.
Like, hello, human.
Doodles likes the box, as long as she's not forced to go somewhere. And Pixie kind of cooperated, and we didn't have a third cat carrier, so they just put a leash and harness on Licorice and took her. But Tippy took 4 abortive attempts to actually shove him in the box. We got him in the box.
Yeah.
I got him in the box because he didn't know what was happening the first time. And Varias picked up the box. And 3 of the latches weren't attached correctly, and so it dropped on the floor.
That's lovely.
And he bolted.
We got the front door. We got the front door closed. We got the back door closed. We forgot to attach the top to the bottom, though, and that's a problem.
Yeah. So I got him a second time, and he swiped me across the chest.
Ooh.
Fine.
And then so he was hiding behind my desk, which is a rat's nest of wires and computer boxes and other such things. So Varias got him the third time, and without going into terrible specifics, because this is not my story to tell, she does not have the grip or upper body strength that she once had.
No.
So when he used his 13 extra vertebrae to flip his body around, he flew out of her hands and dove behind my desk again. So she's like, at this point, she's like, you know what? Maybe you should just open the fucking back door and let him back out with the other cats.
Like at this point, I've had it. I'm done.
I'm like, dude, at this point, if we open the back door and let him out, he ain't coming back this time after this trauma. And she just went.
Probably not.
And she just went.
Sounds about right.
Get fed up, huh?
Oh, dude. So I grabbed him violently by the scruff. Now Tippy is an unneutered male.
Oh no.
So he's about the size of a Maine Coon. and full of piss and vinegar, among other things. And he got mad at me, like he hissed violently, and I just yelled at him, "Shut up!" And he just went like, and he just looked at me. I'm like, "Don't you hiss at me?" I said, "Don't you hiss at me, or I will punch you in the goddamn nose."
Violence solves everything.
But I was able to get him without hurting him. I wasn't used to stunning a cat with words. I'm used to there being violence, usually perpetrated by the cat.
We know.
And so this time I got him in the box. This took 3 hops. I pulled him out of the hole, Miraculously, he did not scratch me because he tried to bite me and scratch me in the process, and I got him by the scruff again. I pulled him about a foot out of the hole, and then I just pressed him to the ground, so that way I could reposition. And then I grabbed him in two places. I got him by the neck, and I scooped him on the underside, and he tried to do that flip maneuver where he slashed me across the chest again. And I said, "Not this time, pal." Oop, Doodles, it's okay. It's all right, Doodles. She doesn't like this story. It involves
PTSD.
yeah, it involves PTSD. Well, see, she wasn't the problem. I opened the door and she said, "Oh, yep, it's my time to go in the cage." But yeah, so three hops. I pressed him to the ground in front of the cage. I said, I told Verizon, I said, "I need you to actually sit on the cat box so it doesn't fly when I shove him in here." So she squatted on the cat box and held it in place, and I shoved him in, and he tried to hiss and bite at me, and I waved my hand in his face and went, "Ah!" like that, and then I shut the door, and he was in there, and I said, "Now, let's do the genius thing here and actually make sure that all 6 latches are locked on this cage before you pick it up again."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "And this time we're going to pick it up from the bottom." And she's like, "Okay." And we got him into the car, and he howled. You probably could have heard him on the dark side of the moon. He was so loud. So that was our adventure for today.
Fun.
Yeah. And then so they came like an hour late. They came like an hour and a half later, and because I told them to get off the property before the management got here, so that way we didn't have to answer any questions. They took my car and just went to their friend's house. And they said once they got there, the cats were all very well behaved, except for Licorice kept getting into everything because she was the only cat out of the box.
What's he got here?
Doodles is now climbing inside a cabinet in the kitchen. I could see her. But yeah, Licorice, they had to dig her out of a couple of rat holes in the other place. She found
Fine.
she found all the hidey holes, and she's silent. She's like a ninja. She just like you're just sitting there, and then one minute she's not there, and the next second you're suddenly petting a cat, and you didn't even realize you started doing it.
Fine.
So yeah.
There you go.
But they came home about 4:30-ish, and I don't know. The cats seem to have returned to normal. Even Tippy's speaking to me again after all that violence. All right,
Anyway.
So that's our dramatic story for today. Now, the part you've all been waiting for has finally arrived. We get to the heart of the show now, and I think this is going to be good. Our guest tonight, of course, is Daniel Kalban of Atlas Studios. We've been corrected. Daniel, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
All right, tell us all about Atlas Studios. Get us started off before I turn you over to the viciousness that is our crew.
Okay, so it's basically a little indie publisher, little imprint I've created for my little comic book creations, including American Dreams, which is a 1900s set superhero book about a Jewish immigrant who gains powers from a Thomas Edison experiment that goes awry. And for Night Wrath, which is a kind of 90s style anti-hero comic, I got a few other things I'm cooking up right now. But right now, we just did our Night Wrath issue 1 Kickstarter, and we're working on fulfilling that, and we're working on getting stuff ready for the American Dreams Volume 1 Kickstarter in July.
All right, well, that sounds like an exciting slate of stuff that you've got coming down.
Yep. Thanks.
All right. So the first one you mentioned is this always gets me because I was born in 1977. So when people say the 1900s, it gives me pause.
It's the Gilded Age. We're
I
talking
mean,
about
it's
the
an entire century.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it makes me feel older when people say that now because we're far enough into the 2000s that.
Yeah.
Adam, why don't you take the floor here while I go lick my wounds?
All right. So I suppose we should start by establishing your comic credentials. Have you done any other work in the industry?
Entry in Project Big Hype Volume 1. Other than that, it's been my own work. I haven't been
Wait,
in the.
hold up, you're fading out there. I
Sorry.
don't think we got part
Yeah,
of
it
your
sounds
answer
like you
there.
might be back and forth from the mic or something.
Yeah, sorry. Let me pull this closer to me. Better. Basically, I'm in one anthology, Project Big Hype Volume 1. I'm in a couple of things that are coming up that I've contributed to, like Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, where I did the Dodo story.
Uh-huh.
But I haven't been in a wider industry thing for the most part. It's really been my own projects.
Okay. And what made you want to create comics in the first place?
It was a really weird process because I started off basically writing fan film scripts of superhero films. I wanted to write like Superman and Batman. And I started basically writing fan fiction. And that led to writing fan comic book scripts, which led to writing my own stuff. So it was like, cause originally I wanted to be a film director when I was a kid. And then I couldn't get into film school for various reasons. And so I was going for an English degree. And in 2010, there was a blizzard. And here in New York. And I was basically housebound for winter break. I rediscovered some old comics I had, and Comixology was just coming up at that point. So I'm like, oh, I can finally really read a lot of comics, and it kind of snowballed from there.
What sort of fan fiction were you writing? Was it of any particular superhero?
A lot of DC comics fanfiction, primarily Batman. Was a couple like I was trying to write stories of a couple new characters. I wanted to introduce maybe if I ever was so lucky to write for DC properly. Um, but basically a lot of Batman fan stories, which turned into fan scripts, which turned in, and then I started doing my own stuff because I'm like, you know what? I really should do my own stuff and not just do the fan fiction.
Hmm. That makes a certain amount of sense. Like, what was the moment where you decided that you were going to write your own material and publish it out for the world to see?
It was really funny. A lot of my friends were like, "We like these characters, but you really should do it as your own stuff." I'm like, no, these are the characters I'm saving if I ever am so lucky to write for DC. But let me write my own stuff. So my friends were giving me the push I needed, and I wrote various scripts. And I got better over time. And I actually started off with a webcomic which lasted 1.5 chapters, and at the same time I was doing American Dreams, getting that ready. Issue 1, and at the time I had a publisher lined up for that one, but I was like, something had to give, so the webcomic got put on the shelf. And I focused on American Dreams 1. That fell through with that publisher, so I went to another publisher. That publisher published issues 1 through 3, and then they folded in 2021, so that became the official start of Atlas Studios.
Like, are those 3 issues? Do you still have the rights to them?
Oh yeah, it was completely creator owned. They just had some
Okay.
distribution rights. I forgot off the word, but because they folded, basically all our rights we had left, all the rights we had, really reverted back.
That's good. Like, such things can be thorny otherwise. Like,
Yeah, it's a good thing too because it's gone to 5 issues now. We have the trade coming up this summer. I mean, I'm working on issue 6 and 7 right now of American Dreams. So
okay, it sounds like, in spite of some snags, the American Dream project is coming to the fore pretty consistently.
Yep.
Like, and probably good opportunity to get into American Dreams itself. For the uninitiated, what is this comic?
Okay, it's a superhero book, and I said at the top of it, everything. It's set in 1900. A Jewish immigrant by the name of Jake Gold. He's working in a sweatshop at night. He's fighting in a gang. No, he's working in a sweatshop by day, and he's fighting in a gang by night. Sorry, it's been a long day. So one night he's fighting in one of those usual turf wars downtown. Meanwhile, uptown, Thomas Edison is setting off this experiment with this device he's basically stole from Nikola Tesla. It opens a portal. That portal ends up zapping people all across New York City, giving them powers. Jake's ends up being one of them. And he has to figure out what he's going to do with them. And it's set up against the backdrop of the Gilded Age, which is, a time of great inequality, of political upheaval. And so it just juxtaposes Jake against that backdrop, as well as having to interact with people like Houdini and Edison and J.P. Morgan and Nellie Bly and Emma Goldman and Aleister Crowley. So it's a really fun way to play a little bit of history while having some superhero fun.
I mean, it's certainly a unique setting, if nothing else. Like, I can't exactly think of another. I'm not saying it doesn't exist or anything, but it's like it's not really an explored setting, just in general.
I think the closest superhero series or fiction that is set in that time period that sounds even close would be like the Scarlet Pimpernel.
Or the Jonah Hex series. Yeah. That's the Wild West.
Yeah, so this is 1900, so this is, really early 20th century. I think the earliest most people tend to go to is like the same era as the golden age of comics. It was like 1930s, 1940s, World War II era. So, like, some people might do like a steampunk twist, like go more Victorian, or they'll go more diesel punk and be more World War II. I'm kind of in that weird little zone. Like, it's before both World Wars. It's after what's considered. It's basically the end of the Victorian era, but it's not necessarily the beginnings of what we consider to be the modern period.
Yeah, it's also an interesting period in terms of American history because you mentioned the Gilded Age. This is at the tail end of the Gilded Age and at the start of what they call the Progressive Era.
Right.
So the opportunities here are pretty immense, if nothing else.
Well, yeah, and there's always people in the book expressing their views. I want to say, people try away from, oh no, it's too political. It's like, it's the time period. It was one of those probably the most political time periods in all of American history.
That's saying something.
Yeah, and it's in a weird way, it's like holding up a mirror up to today for that, because a lot of the same things were happening at this time. Though they're, muckraking journalists were confined to print, and they didn't have like radio or TV or anything like that. And some muckraked for good, like Nellie Bly, and some like William Randolph Hearst would use muckraking to basically force some really nasty agendas.
Well, and as a political aside here, I mean, I gotta say, brutal honesty. People who decry popular fiction for being political are obviously Philistines who don't understand art.
Yeah. Essentially.
I mean, let's be brutally honest here. All art is political on some level.
Yeah. The fact I started writing this in 2016, it's like timely.
Hard to say, but I suppose that is another question that I do have. I mean, yes, it's a very political era, but how much do the politics of the era actually factor into the story here?
It depends. Emma Goldman, every scene she's in, she's a little more proactive with the politics. Because that was Emma Goldman. She was, being the drum for her causes no matter where she went. But it's a little more subtle in Arc 1. Arc 2 is going to introduce a little more of it because there's going to be a couple new characters. Which will be who, like Emma Goldman, is very more out there with his beliefs. As in, he's more willing to say what he thinks.
Because I've also detected that this is also very, for lack of a better term, comic book fantastical. Since you've got your opening arc, you got Thomas Edison teaming up with J.P. Morgan to launch a star device, and Aleister Crowley is plotting something, which is a bit of a jump since he's usually in London.
Yes, but I actually looked up something interesting. In around 1900, he was in Mexico.
Huh.
So this is where the history starts blurring with the fiction. So, in this case, he somehow ended up in the United States. Who knows how long he'll actually stay in the terms of history versus fiction? Because Harry Houdini in 1900 also goes on his European Grand Tour, except he's still here in 1900 in this take of the universe.
Okay. Right. So centering on the main character, Jake Gold. What are his powers? Does he have a superhero identity?
He does. He gets his superhero identity in issue 3, though it's not named until issue 5. He's a Superman archetype, super strength, super durable, energy blast from his eyes. I try to not give him the full suite because he has to get up to that point eventually, but not not all at once. And he's not completely invulnerable. He's very durable, but get someone as strong as him, and they'll batter him down pretty quickly, as you'll see in issues 4 and 5. And you can get all those digitally on the website, or in July when we have the trade-in on Kickstarter.
And how do I frame this properly? You did mention that he is a immigrant of Jewish heritage.
Yes.
So a few questions there. Is where he immigrated from important? Is he from Poland or Romania or?
He is a Russian Jewish immigrant. It's not as important. You see a bit of a flashback in one of the issues to why his family had to flee with the pogrom. His grandmother died in the pogrom.
Right.
He literally carried his dead baby sister out into the cold and witnessed his grandmother basically burn in their cottage. So, in an area where we have a lot of refugees due to various reasons, persecution of all kinds, that's very important. It's kind of a universal kind of fear that you'll be driven from your home because of hate, and you have to start somewhere new.
Right.
And then you have to adapt to the whole new culture and everything. And Jake has adapted pretty well. His sister basically has known nothing but America, and his youngest sibling, his little brother, is completely American born. His parents and grandfather haven't quite as adapted as well, being that Yiddish is their main language that they'll communicate with at home.
Certainly sounds like a complicated family dynamic, if nothing else.
Yeah, Jake is I don't always see eye to eye, and it's the whole, and it's Jake is trying very much to be an American. His dad's trying to be very much keep your head on straight, because we don't want any trouble.
And in terms of his Jewish heritage, is that going to be a major focal point of his character?
I'm trying to get it more and more in. It's I don't want to be, too, but he'll use Yiddishisms. He's targeted by rival gangs for being Jewish. He's a very Jewish Baloo. He's from the Lower East Side. There's a scene where in issue 5, where his father is literally falling off of a building. His father's reciting the Shema, which is the holiest prayer in Judaism. And the concept is, if you think you're about to die, the last thing you want to recite is the Shema. As well, because it's the holiest prayer in Judaism. So I don't try to make it as blatant, but it's pretty much an important facet of his character because it does inform several of his experiences.
Okay. And let me see here. Are you looking to have him be the only major original character? How many more historical figures? Like, what's the balance here?
Starting with Arc 2, which is going to be starting with issue 6, I'm introducing a couple new powered characters as well. And, slowly but surely more powered characters will come in. More historical figures will come in. Teddy Roosevelt starts showing up in issue 6 as an important supporting character. At this point, he's just governor of New York. He's not even vice president yet. But slowly but surely, some more people will show up who are famous, some who are infamous. But I'm also trying to concentrate more on also the original characters, such as Jake and his family and his love interest, Annabelle Livingston, who's a photographer working for Nellie Bly, and she's the daughter of one of the richest families in New York, with a pedigree going back to the Revolution. And certain characters get more time to shine. Like issue 6 has more of a moment for Emma Goldman as she interacts with one of the newer characters. Because Harry Houdini, to be quite honest, out of all the historical figures other than Aleister Crowley, steals the show. The two magicians as always, are stealing the show.
Okay. And if I'm recalling correctly, we had a guest by the name of Charles Wolfe on the program not too long ago, and he mentioned doing music for your comic series.
Yeah, he did a small soundtrack for the first arc. Originally, it was going to be released when we did the trade this year, but I thought if we reach X amount of money on the woes and the American Dreams 1 through 5 Kickstarter, we'll just release the score. It's a 5-6 track score. It's basically like originally I pitched this whole thing. It was like he said, think smaller, otherwise you'll be spending a lot. So we basically selected several tracks and certain points that we had to hit, and certain things we wanted to hit.
Okay.
And he created these really great scores. Let me pull up. Let's see if I can pull it up. What I have on my computer, just so I remember what it was.
Okay.
There we go. We have a title theme. We have the portal fight, the big sweatshop fire from issue 2, the big fight towards the end of issue 3, Houdini theme, a romance theme, and then the big battle for issues 4 and 5.
Okay.
So it's like a little soundtrack suite. It's not like a whole score for all 5 issues, but it hits like the big important parts.
And do you seek to do another one of those for the second arc?
Eventually, he did do a theme for Night Raft, which is the latest comic I did. He just did the main title theme versus a small score because we only had the first issue.
That's a good transition as any to talk about Night Wrath for a little bit here. I believe you mentioned that this is your homage to like 90s anti-heroes.
Yeah, it's a little Spawn, a little Venom, a little Pit, a little Darkness.
Okay.
I created him with the penciler, Gabe Santos, also known as Esquivel Art, on Twitter and everywhere. And we wanted that whole kind of 90s feel, but do it our way.
Mm-hmm.
As he's basically Joe, the main character who becomes Night Raft, is like this schlub. Thinks he's like a nobody, that no one will even miss him when he's gone, but he's the victim of the wrong end of a mugging. His nightmare only is the beginning, and he gets transformed into this giant purple rage monster that's Night Wrath. And that's where the fun begins.
That's giving me flashbacks to the Max.
A little bit of Max too. If you take all these little influences, mix them around, and go, okay, how do we make this our own? So I said, basically, he's a schlub. He's an unconfident, no self-esteem schlub when not powered up. When he's powered up, he's extremely confident. But even then, here's this whole internal push-pull of like, oh, should I really do this? You see this whole exposition within the first 3 pages.
And does this take place in the same universe as American Dream?
Same universe, but modern day. So slowly but surely, you'll be seeing more signs of this little universe I'm creating. And Jake may still be out there in our modern day, but I won't say how and why. Does
Fair
please not
enough.
yet.
I mean, that sounds important, possibly.
Yeah.
Like, do you have a whole, for lack of a better term, universe planned out here?
It's beginning to plan out. It's like I'm one of those people where it's like half planning, half pantsing. Like I have ideas of how it's going to work out, but I don't have all the parts yet. But they're starting to come together pretty quickly in pieces.
And how long of an arc or a run are you looking to have? Night Wrath run.
We have a 3-issue arc already planned out and written. It's anything beyond that's somewhat dependent on Gabe's time and everything because he's also busy. He's doing a book right now for one of the Snipes that just got announced. So it's like it's dependent on his schedule.
There you go.
And I suppose that is also a good segue to talk about your team, because I
Yep.
don't think we've really delved into that aspect yet. So, who is helping you bring these comics to life here?
So on American Dreams, it's Dodi Eka on pencils, Tebi Andre on inks, Warneke Sahadewa on colors, Matt Bowers on letters, LaShawn Colvin and Andrea Smith are my editors, Netho Diaz, who AGI Joe artist, he's now at Marvel, did the variant covers. He also did the main cover for issue 1. Tommy Shelton does our cover colors, except for cover 4A, which my friend Tim Brown did. On Night Raft, we have Gabe Santos doing the pencils, David Rivera's doing the inks, Daniel Erms doing the colors, and Francisco Zamora's doing the letters.
Okay.
And I'm kind of self-editing as we go along.
And is this like the core team for an issue, an arc, that kind of thing?
It's preferably before the whole series, if possible, but life happens.
Right. Especially
Um,
when it comes to comic books.
yeah, but I'd also like to use like putting together the collected editions, like bringing in other artists to do their takes.
Mhm.
So it's like, for example, for One of American Dreams, Dodie and the rest of the team did a new prologue, but I asked 2 of my friends to do 2 shorts that I wrote. That does expand the world a little bit more. It gives a little more content to the reader.
Hmm. And are those going to be comics in and of themselves, or are they going to be like prints or some other media?
Those will be part of the Volume 1 trade that we're going to start kickstarting in July. So it's not just
And,
going to be. So not going to be just like a cover gallery. You're going to get two new short stories, plus the new prologue.
and mentioned this Kickstarter a few times here, but what are the details?
So you either what Kickstarter is, or just what the details are.
What is this campaign?
Well, the campaign's not announced officially. I've announced that it'll be going on. I'm still building the campaign.
Okay. Okay.
But it's going to be you have a couple reward options. Basically, you can sample issue 1 physically or digitally if you want like a little taste.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a soft cover option and a hardcover option. Hardcover has a cover penciled by Scott McDaniel, the night artist who's been on Nightwing and Batman for so many years. And you can get them at regular Kickstarter price, but we're also having an early bird special for those 2 books. We also have a retailer tier for retailers, and I'm keeping it simple, so it's not gonna be like extra little like T-shirts or sneakers or a lot of swag like some of these Kickstarters are able to do, which I can't. But it's gonna be very here's your book, and keep it simple.
So makes sense. And what was the previous campaign about?
The previous one before that we just finished was Night Raft issue 1, and that was basically we had the option of the book. We had 3 covers. We also offered catch up tiers with American Dreams 1 through 5, and we also had commission tiers for Gabe to draw, and that went out. And we actually went above and beyond. Like I was thinking, oh, we're gonna because when I did a Kickstarter last year for American Dreams 1 through 5, it took forever to get to $5,000, which was my goal. So I was thinking, okay, let's have a keep a nice, simple goal again of like, I think it was like $5,000 and or 4,500, and I'm like, here's a couple simple goals. Hopefully, we can reach them by the end of the campaign. We reached regular first goal. By the end of the week, I launched. We reached all the stretch goals by the end of the following week. I'm like, oh no, what do I do? So I figured out to figure out 3 more stretch goals, and then we raised like $10,000 before Kickstarter takes its cut.
Hmm.
And this is me like kind of like hyperventilating into like I was like kind of hyperventilating just looking at the freaking numbers climb. And like I think I joked once to my coworker, like literally the day we hit goal, which was literally like 3 days after we hit launch, I'm like, okay, I can both relax and hyperventilate. Partly because I don't have to be stressing the entire time about not reaching the goal. Like last year, I was very stressed. Because we're like, it's taking forever to get to goal. Taking forever. And then we just hit it like that. So it's like, that was a really great feeling. But it's like, it's also a lot of, did I bite off a little more than I could chew?
I mean, I could not answer that question personally, but
Yeah.
I suppose a question I could ask is, what are you hoping to do differently for this upcoming Kickstarter project?
Well, hopefully just keeping it simple will continue to be a way of success. I see all these people, including friends, like offer all these goodies, which I can't really afford off the bat, I don't have the sources yet or references or context to put them together yet. But it's like they're great, but not everyone gets them, and then you're out X amount of money just for the prototypes, and no one's buying them. Whereas mine is just basically, keep it simple. Here's the books, and we'll worry later on down the line about any fancy tchotchke or whatever. Because I was talking to a friend of mine, just a sounding board for this Kickstarter, and she's like, at the time, like I had a T-shirt idea, like a T-shirt bundle. And she's like, Daniel, your T-shirts when you did American Dreams 1 through 5 didn't sell that well. Maybe drop that idea altogether, which I did. So it's always fine tuning what you can do.
Mm-hmm. And do you have a date pinned down yet?
If everything goes well, because we're hoping, because I had to contact because it's always ideal to basically launch your Kickstarter after at least a chunk of your previous ones been fulfilled. Now everything people who fill out their backer kit surveys have gotten their digital rewards already, so that's good. That counts. So we're hoping, and I just found out we might get the books faster to my fulfillment person. So that's so we might still hit that June release date. But the idea now is that Volume 1 of American Dreams will go live on July 5th. I don't know the time yet because I literally have a doctor's appointment that morning too, so I have to time everything well.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So perfect timing. I still have the day off technically. I don't have to take another vacation day like I did for this one when I launched on my birthday for Night Raft. So it's like I already had the day off. I can just go to the doctor, come back, hit launch, eat lunch.
It's going to be quite a day.
Yeah.
Like, right then. So I suppose my final question is there anything else upcoming that you can talk to us about at this stage?
Yeah, a couple of things. I have Research versus Aliens, which is a 1950s set sci-fi story I'm working on. I have 4 issues written, and Marcelo Muller's doing the pencils, and inks, and my buddy Tim Browse doing the colors, and my friend Annie Shagparty is doing the edits. And I call it like Grease or American Graffiti meets Mars Attacks.
Ah.
I have a book called Sadiq, which is I call it my kosher western, but that's being colored slowly by Warnia, and Jay Scheich did the art. What else am I doing? I'm doing a lot. I got a More Night Raft coming, got More American Dreams coming. I contributed some stuff to my buddy Charlie McKelvey's Fire Squirrel series, so I contributed a page that's going to be in the upcoming 3rd issue. That's going to be on his Kickstarter soon. I contributed recently to Cthulhu Invades Wonderland, and that's about to be printed out and go to those Kickstarter backers, which I also a Kickstarter backer on that one. So I'm excited to get that book in my hands. Um, what else? Uh, Appearances wise, I have 2 conventions lined up. I have Terrificon in July in Connecticut at Mohegan Sun, and I have Baltimore Comic Con in October. And I'm hoping to get to New York Comic Con earlier in October. Oh, I won't find out until next month.
See if my colleagues here have anything else to add to the conversation.
No, not me.
I think I'm good for now.
Guest appearances? Any place? Have you tried out the convention circuit?
Just mentioned
Yeah,
that.
just mentioned a couple of them.
I'm tired.
I only started doing conventions in 2018, and I did Baltimore Comic Con as my first one, and I only had issue 1 at the time, and I sold out of all 50 copies. I'm like, yes, I can do this. I never had sales that great again until last year's Baltimore. I had did all these cons in 2019, and I never hit anywhere close to that sales record until I had all 5 issues ready to go. It didn't help that 2020 basically put up a whole pin and everything.
Yeah.
So 2021 was my only con was Baltimore, and I broke. Well, I had 2 cons. I had Baltimore, and I broke my sales record finally, and then I had C2E2 in December, and that blew Baltimore out of the water. So you never know.
Okay then.
All right. All right. Well, we want to thank you for being on the show and telling us all about your fantastic works there. I can definitely see why a lot of this appeals to Adam, especially considering there's the historical element. If it's not widely known that Adam is a bit of a historian, then shame on you. Yeah, then shame on you for not listening to our podcasts.
Yeah.
But seriously. No, that was good. I was actually kind of just sitting back, and it's like sometimes I throw in funny commentary, but this time I was fascinated by the material and I wanted to hear all about it. So
Thanks so much.
Yeah. So now I got to go check it out. Damn. Put it on my bucket list, which is apparently going to be stored on a roll of butcher paper at the shop because it's so long. All right, so we're going to do the entertainment segment coming up here, and Daniel, you're welcome to participate in that because
I would love to, except it's nearly 12:15 here, and I got work in the morning, so I unfortunately have to duck out.
Okay.
I need sleep. I'm exhausted. I unfortunately had a day where I was running around all over Manhattan, so
I
need to
see.
get to
That'll take you out.
Yeah. All right, then. Well, thanks again for being on the show, and we'll check in with you again as things develop.
Thanks for having me on. Good night.
All right.
Hey.
All right, Adam.
All right.
Lead us into the entertainment news. Much has happened.
Well, it's more a matter of where do we start?
Yes, a lot of news.
Well, let me because it's upfront week.
Yes, it is.
In the entertainment world. So, who's already gone and who has yet to go? I suppose that's a good place.
Everybody has had their thing, because basically the big days of this were Monday, Tuesday, and today.
Okay. So we've run the gamut of all the players.
Yes, we have.
And I guess we'll start with...
Today in particular was probably the big, was a big high-profile day.
Yeah, I know, because Warner Brothers has been all over the news.
Yes.
Because...
We had Warner Brothers and Paramount today. And we had Disney yesterday. And then NBC on Monday.
But still, Warner Brothers certainly been all over the place because this is their first upfront as Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yep. The best man cometh.
Yeah. And accompanying that was a Wall Street Journal profile.
Which,
I'm like, it's got people talking. Because I'm like I said, there's a lot to delve in here. I suppose the first thing is that he has confirmed that the Wonder Twins
movie is dead. Grand
Right.
opening, grand closing, because they just announced the casting for that last month.
I'm like, well, that's what happens with mergers.
And although, to be quite frank, this is probably something that's a mercy killing.
Because it's a DC, I tend to agree with that, because this apparently was being...
It would be somewhat possible to do a decent Wonder Twins thing. Would they have done that? It's pretty unlikely.
Yeah, let me run through it here, because the Vest Man thought that it cost too much money, especially for... this was supposed to be a direct to HBO Plus thing.
HBO Max,
okay, so was this going to be Wonder Twins solo, or was this going to be
it was a Wonder Twins solo movie.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably better than actually trying to include their I hesitate to call it a Justice League.
Yeah. This was supposed to be a $75 million project when that's probably too steep.
Maybe, but I'm I'm of actually a torn opinion here, because I know people have been like, oh, it's the Super Friends, the Wonder Twins, who cares? Well, look at the fucking Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
How many characters, how many franchises that nobody gave a shit about did they turn into literal billion-dollar franchises?
I give you 2 words. Rocket Raccoon. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't even really part of the deep cut mythos of the Marvel universe in general. So,
it was part of Cosmic, but Cosmic was always kind of.
They were part of Nova, but they also but they didn't.
Guardians of the Galaxy, fucking hell, the Eternals. They made a movie out of Jack Kirby's nonsense.
Right, but it didn't do well, so...
I know, I'm just saying,
still give it a shot.
Marvel is, if nothing else, taking incredible risks, if I'm being honest, because, they just put out a series about Moon Knight.
Yep.
And DC is over here...
And it ended in a way that makes people go, make people squirm in their seats, so...
And yes, I know Pacemaker happened. I chalk that up to James Gunn.
Yes,
because
it's James Gunn, and they're going to do it a second time.
I like how you put it. I like how you kind of slurred it when you said it and called it Pacemaker instead of Peacemaker, because it feels like the DCEU is on life support right now.
Yeah.
Especially with all the problems with their stars, Ezra Miller.
Because
Amber Heard.
Flashpoint is supposed to be the big reboot, but Ezra Miller can't stop terrorizing Hawaii.
Yeah, they can't stop. They can't stop.
Won't stop.
Stop. Yes. And unfortunately, they're locked in with them.
Yeah, because the movie's already done.
Yeah.
So, And I know there's been talk about dropping them, but
It's too late.
I'd also like
It's
to
too
take a
late.
moment. I'd also like to take a moment here to acknowledge the fact that the character of Mera was so unimportant to Aquaman 2 that they were actually able to excise virtually all of her parts from the film and not destroy the film.
Somehow.
So
that the film still
there was
works
a
without
reason-
any of her scenes.
No, there was an actual concerted reason behind that. It came up in the Johnny Depp trial.
No, but I'm saying they filmed a lot more. Then they cut it down to 10 minutes, and now they're talking about removing it entirely.
Okay, yeah.
And this does not torpedo the plot of the film in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Yeah, if you can cut out every scene from a movie that includes a character, the character was not important.
Yes, because this movie is called Aquaman.
Yep.
Aquaman, not Mera, not Aquaman and Mera.
No, but she's supposed to be a starring.
She's
character.
like his wife, isn't she?
Well, kind of. Yeah.
The overall point we're getting at here is, with some exceptions, the DCEU is a fucking mess, and
It was a mess from the jump. Let's be real. Let's remind ourselves. This was started because DC was jealous of Marvel, while completely missing how Marvel made it happen.
No, I know.
Yeah, but I mean, as much as they missed the point, Man of Steel still worked.
Yes, but the thing about it is that
it's everything that came after that went down the slippery slope of basically went down the diarrhea slide.
Let's remind ourselves. It was originally Man of Steel 2, then it became Man of Steel 2 co-starring Batman, and then it became Man of Steel 2 plus the Justice League. And then it's Batman versus Superman in the Justice League. So and all because of the fact that DC wanted to start their own universe, and they started it.
And they've been
floundering. And here we are.
They've been floundering with the idea ever since.
Like
I said, on the individual level, they've had some hits. The first Aquaman, the first Wonder Woman, not so much the second one.
That's being incredibly kind. The second movie is horrible.
The second movie was probably the breaking point.
Yeah,
frankly, with this
Shazam.
Wonder Woman was a mirage into thinking, hey, maybe we can make something happen here. Shazam 2, as well. But Wonder Woman 84, that was the breaking point, and it's completely and totally collapsed with a few minor exceptions.
I mean, they can still make occasionally a good standalone.
Right. But the problem is that outside of Peacemaker and the Batman, maybe Harley Quinn 2, that's it.
The Joker, I know it's a divisive film, but damn it if it didn't make $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, the Suicide Squad.
Yes.
Have to be specific. Have to be specific. Yeah.
Have to be specific.
I mean, not that the David Ayer film didn't make almost $850 million, but
right.
Ultimate point is, the DCEU has had some individual successes, but they're not consistent about it. And
no,
it completely fails at cohesive storytelling, which the Marvel stuff is okay, at least at weaving stuff that happened in one movie into the backstory of another one and stuff. Whereas I don't think there have been any successful DC movies that have any shared continuity at all.
No.
Really?
There has been a maximum of 1.5 good movies per continuity.
Yeah.
I want to... Go ahead.
And so losing the Super Friends isn't, that big of a deal in the grand thing of things, because honestly, I don't trust the current Warner Brothers DC to do something with this. Not saying it couldn't happen.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Frankly, if they had done that 5-6 years ago instead of what they actually did, maybe they'd be in a better place. But they blew it.
Anyway,
there's no trust there.
You were going to say?
I was gonna since we've brought Marvel into the fray here, I just wanted to ask if anybody noted that they thanks to Kang the Conqueror, they seem to have reset the timeline. The originally the Marvel Cinematic Universe was set to be in Earth 199999. Now, there have been at least 3 explicit references since Loki that state categorically that the Marvel Cinematic Universe takes place on Earth 616. Which is interesting because,
That's the same one as the comic.
Correct. And what's interesting about that is they're basically saying that the Marvel Cinematic Universe overwrites the comics. It feels like this dovetails into a conversation about whether or not Marvel is going to completely give up print comics in its entirety. Because if they're saying the MCU is 616,
I mean,
it can't coexist with the comics being 616.
I mean, they can't drop the print comics because they need the stories for the future movies. Like,
yeah,
that's why superhero comics exist.
I feel like we're coming to Marvel's version of the New 52.
Possibly, but I'm like, what we got in the MCU right now is being called the multiverse saga. Like, maybe not formally, but because we've had like 3 major movies: Spider-Man, No Way Home, Doctor Strange, and the Multiverse of Madness, and I think Loki is the Disney Plus series, but still, 3 things about the multiverse. So,
little more than that. WandaVision touched on it because of her powers.
Wasn't like somewhere between Endgame and WandaVision part of what started the whole dang thing?
Well, yeah. Well, here's the to not get
Loki
into
is
spoilers.
Loki is the official starting point for the multiverse.
Yeah, but there was definitely originally everything was in a very strict regimented universe, and then something broke it.
Yeah, WandaVision does flow into the multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, but as far as
right,
but as far as Endgame is concerned, the Ancient One explicitly said that you're allowed to do this time travel thing, these branching timelines, because that's how it was supposed to go. So she explicitly stated they were still on the true path.
Okay.
In the film. So just to clarify.
Yeah. And no telling how long the multiverse saga is going to last, but everyone's expecting this to end in Secret Wars, but that would be a far off distance, given that right now Kevin and the Marvel team are actually meeting like right now to determine the next decade of Marvel stuff.
It's just basically what we're doing right now with Moon Knight and with WandaVision and with Multiverse of Madness and No Way Home and all that is we're basically gathering all of the superheroes that have the ability to break time.
And I get like the Sony stuff might be involved in this as well.
Now that they've explicitly intimated that there's going to be a crossover between the universes.
Yeah, and once again, not to get into spoilers, let's just say the symbiote race is kind of important to the Marvel cosmic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently there've been some hints about that, but we'll see how it all plays.
And then, of course, the specific cameos and the actors chosen to play them in Multiverse of Madness has really been fueling the fandom fervor.
Right, because I think there's now speculation that X-Men 97 might be part of this. Because, once again, maybe not exactly a spoiler if you've seen the trailers, and they kind of revealed that a version of Professor X does show up.
I've seen the movie.
Yeah, but it's like it's not the same Professor X as the Fox movie continuity, it's suspected because he used the leitmotif of the animated series that he's the animated series Professor Xavier.
Well, considering that the world that they find them in is almost like a cartoon parody of our real world.
Yeah. So, like, it's probably an accurate guess, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Like, so,
I enjoyed personally enjoyed the Sam Raimi nods.
See, well, the Sam Raimi nods. He directed it.
No, I know, but the fact that he managed to jam in all that extra shit that's exclusively Sam Raimi. Yeah.
Right.
Again, without being too terribly specific.
Yeah. I'm just disappointed he couldn't get a cameo for Darkman.
I know, right?
Yeah, but let's see. I think we
but
just saw.
At least we can console ourselves with Pizza Papa.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the trailer for the next. I'm not sure if this is the next Marvel series, but She-Hulk dropped.
It's the next series.
Yeah.
This one has the potential to be an ongoing series instead of a limited run.
Well, it's basically it's She-Hulk Attorney at Law.
It's basically the John Byrne era.
I mean, that is her day job, yes.
Yeah, it's basically the John Byrne era of She-Hulk. Sensational She-Hulk, specifically.
Yeah. Yep.
Even though they're using the modern logo.
Yeah. And well, it's also done by one of the writers of Rick and Morty, specifically the creator of Pickle Rick.
Oh shit!
Boy, yeah.
Oh shit! I just hope that they get the CGI fixed up before the actual debut because it's a little rough. I'm still all in, but it's a little rough right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when does this thing debut again?
September?
Think so.
Yeah.
They got a little time.
I mean, they got time to fix that up, and even then, we're dealing with TV budget here, essentially, and not a movie budget,
or even a limited series budget,
So, I mean, let's keep that in mind here.
I mean, unless they're going for a cartoony aesthetic on purpose, because once again, we are talking about the John Byrne era of the comic.
Mm-hmm.
So she breaks the fourth wall. She talks to the audience on a regular basis and is aware that she is a fictional character in a TV series. So,
So the real question is, are they willing to go far enough to have her, walk up to the camera, grab it, and smash someone with it?
I believe they explicitly said that's the way they're going with it. The showrunner was talking about it. I've read several articles about it, and they said, yes, this is very much the John Byrne era of... Well, I mean, they didn't say his name because he's kind of an asshole, but... I mean, that's what they're hearkening to, is that, and... I wish I could remember the names of the writers and artists who did issues, 10 through 39 of the Sensational She-Hulk, and then his successors, because it's like they still get credit because they kind of held that version of the universe together for a long time. But. Mm-hmm. But we still call it the John Byrne era because it was so heavily influenced by his style.
Right. Anyway, getting back to Warner Brothers. Well, it's like I can't let this fucking slip.
Nope.
Because a lot of people might have missed it because it was buried in the WSJ report. But he is he's looking to revive Harry Potter.
Revive in what way?
For HBO Max.
Internal
retelling
streaming.
the books again, or...
No,
we don't know.
Material. What it appears to me is that new side material that's not Fantastic Beasts that probably has the Harry Potter name on it.
But yeah,
so no one's going to care.
Can we just not give any more money to J.K. Rowling?
Well, we could.
That's kind of where I am.
Well, here's the thing. We are stopping the doing that because we just fucking slayed the Fantastic Beasts franchise. But
which is why we're doing that.
yeah,
But here's the problem: Harry Potter still fucking makes money.
yeah, Warner Brothers
How much
still
you hate
sees it as a major tentpole, just now in the HBO Max space.
Look,
And it's probably going to have to be side material because even though J.K. Rowling controls the IP, she doesn't control the actors. And like Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson, they don't want anything to fucking do with her.
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe has been very clear that he does not want to do anything with this franchise anymore.
Yeah.
Other than that freaking reunion special, that's it.
Yeah. I
mean, something too old anyway. Something.
So it's like either they're going to have to recast Harry Potter, or
of course they're still going to call him. They're still going to call him for whatever project they decide to do, and he's going to have to tell him to fuck off.
I'm sure it's going to be an easy call because once again, we're not in Harry Potter's heyday. Like I know it's still a major franchise for them, but it's like we are well away from Harry Potter being part of the pop cultural landscape, and
I don't know. People, there's still people out there would have Hogwarts houses in their profiles.
Yeah,
no,
and when Fantastic Beasts was in theaters, the people who did come out to see it, they did wear Harry Potter material. People still watch those original movies. That franchise is still making money, no matter how much we hate it.
I can't tell you how many people on my timeline are still blathering about Harry Potter as if it was the original Star Wars or something.
Which is why this is all happening.
Yeah.
And the reason why is that the Fantastic Beasts failed was because basically Harry Potter was not the brand name. Harry Potter was nowhere to be found, and they tried desperately. And if you notice with the promotion for this last Fantastic Beasts movie, they played images from the original Harry Potter films.
Also, pretty bad story writing.
No.
And bringing evidence to the kind of slipshod quality of
the world,
her setting building outside of her very specific British experience.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that because the first two movies actually did financially really well. But here's my take on this. Warner Brothers cannot seem to manage to properly distance themselves from problematic people, whether they're writers and creators or actors. And they almost always seem to fall on the wrong side of history when it comes to who they hire, who they keep on the staff, and who they fire.
Yes.
And so the Fantastic Beasts franchise, the first two movies did fine. They were I don't know if they were runaway hits, but they definitely weren't anything to sneeze at.
They were decent. They were decent.
Yeah. The deal is that the Secrets of Dumbledore film was a bomb because of the fuck up between Rowling being a horribly problematic person, writing the film, and then shit canning Johnny Depp. Because that's a sore point. Because Warner Brothers got rid of him, and then everybody basically exited on him unjustly.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like I know he's tough to deal with and all that stuff, but like, and he definitely has his share of problematic issues. But being a wife beater, I don't think was one of them.
Yeah.
And they should not have done what they did. They should have waited until all of this settled out before they made a decision. And then casting a supremely mediocre actor like Mads Mikkelsen in his place is just that was just the last straw. So you've got a transphobe as your creator writer, and then you've got this whole thing to where Warner Brothers just can't seem to find the good guys when they're making superhero and magic world films.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say that had more to do with the franchise's failure than anything else. It's like people are finally waking up to the fact that, hey, you know what? This is a problematic studio that likes to deal with problematic people. as evidenced by how many people are melting down in the DCEU right now.
Yeah.
The only successful thing that they had going for them was various aspects of the Arrowverse. And the CW is basically has been circling the bowl for what, 12 years now?
It's really accelerated recently because
Yep, it's accelerating now because, see, the thing about the CW is that this is a 2-company network.
Right.
And in a day and age where everybody's doing their own shit,
but
it's not going to work for long.
But there's a very real threat that whatever's left of the Arrowverse is going to be shuttled off to HBO Max. And HBO Max just does not have the same appeal that Disney Plus does because, like I said, Disney did not spend the last decade pissing everyone and everybody off. Anyone and everybody off.
Yeah, well, you could argue that Disney's starting to piss people off right now.
Yeah.
But Warner has, had a lot more.
The point is,
stuff.
Marvel's willing to take more risks.
Yes.
They're willing to take more
absolutely.
risks with their material and make a even modest attempt to appease the public.
And to go deeper into the library. Meanwhile, DC kind of has started to, but now probably with the new management, they're probably going to keep it more safe.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of other stuff here. Like, because Discovery Man wants to keep things on the cheap for HBO Max.
He has a specific price tag.
$35 million.
Yes.
Time to see if we can bring Reb Brown out of retirement to start doing superhero films again.
So shifting to something that has nothing to do with superheroes, Scooby-Doo. Because
Mindy Kaling's spinoff, which was announced last year or 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has finally in the face of this is actually happening, and people are upset.
People are upset for the expected reasons.
Yes.
And the unexpected reason. The expected reason is because she's South Asian now, and you can put 2 and 2 together there.
Yeah.
But who gives a shit about them? And I suppose the more surprising thing is people are upset that Scooby-Doo isn't here.
Wait a minute. Hold on. That phrasing was problematic. What the hell was that?
What?
She's South Asian, and who gives a shit about them? That you might want to separate those concepts a little more.
Yeah, it's like the people who are upset.
Okay.
About that.
Yeah.
Sorry the racist, xenophobe.
I just wanted to be clear about that because I've already had a couple of misspeaks this week on my other shows. So.
Yes.
Fair enough. But yeah, a lot of people.
The other point about Scooby not being here, at this point in time, I think it's about time that we start, doing stuff like this. Because this franchise has been around for 50 years, and for the last, maybe 5 to 10,
look,
it's been pretty much the status quo, and the status quo needs to be shaken up.
I mean,
and if that means that Scooby and Mystery Inc. is nowhere to be found, and we're doing other things with these characters, hey.
Here's the thing. Mystery Inc. is here. Scooby-Doo is not.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. And that's what's leading the consultation. Although this is also being pitched as Scooby-Doo for adults, so not sure how that's going to shake out. As I'm like, when you think, it's like, but I suppose the central conceit here is it's not about Scooby-Doo, it's about Velma.
Yes.
Though apparently she's still solving mysteries. And also if you want, classics, if you want Scooby-Doo, there's no shortage of Scooby-Doo. And I don't mean just throughout the ages. I mean, there's there's what, Scooby-Doo and Guess Who that's running on Boomerang. Not
Well,
that you know.
that series is actually wrapped up, from what I understand.
Yeah.
But more to the point, they do a freaking DTV movie every 6 months to a year.
Yeah. And
So just hold tight. It'll be your classic kind of Scooby Doo within a few months. So just calm down.
the vibe I get from this, at least from what I've seen, is they want another Harley Quinn. Like,
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
but
Again, like I said, at this point in time, this franchise needs to take risks. Needs to do things differently here.
If only DC's live action films could take a cue from their animated films.
mind you, Scooby Doo taking risks is also hit or miss because sometimes you get, say, a mystery,
True.
sometimes you get a clue.
Yeah, well, look.
I envy the people who don't remember get a clue.
Yeah, well, at this point, I mean, hell, you can go all the way back to 13 Ghosts, so you know.
Yeah, or you could go with Scrappy Doo. Like, that was a shakeup of the formula.
Yeah.
I thought we all agreed Scrappy Doo never happened.
Mm.
Yeah, well, you know, but look.
Well, it wasn't.
Well, then how would you
Scrappy-Doo
remember
was
that we
there,
agreed
was it?
that?
Didn't those ones also cut out like most of the kids?
Yeah, well,
It got
more to the point.
complicated. Like,
Yeah,
so.
More to the
Well,
point.
here, like, because when Scrappy Doo got added, it was the same cast for a bit. Then they just dropped everybody but Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy. And then we got the new Scooby Doo Mysteries, which was, hey, let's add Daphne back to the cast for.
Ah, yes, Daphne and Shaggy, those two characters that definitely interact on a regular basis.
And Velma and Fred showed up in cameo form.
Yeah, they just showed up in cameo form and said, "Peace out."
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
Velma's the only other character that people obsess about on a regular basis.
Yes.
I mean, let's be brutally honest, considering all of these items I found on my recent image search.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Yes. Don't ever say it's not possible when it comes to the dark side of the internet.
Yeah.
Don't ever.
I'm just saying that in terms of the Mystery Inc. characters, you know, it's just Velma's where it's at.
I mean, she's also the smart one, in addition to other stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, but back to the point of the matter here. At this point in time, you know, yes, this franchise has done different things all the time. This is probably the most radical thing that they're going to do, and it's like at this point, different is good.
Right.
When it comes to a 50-year-old franchise, you got to do things differently at least once in a while. They're hit or miss. Hopefully, this is a hit. If it's not, well, we'll figure it out.
Almost 60 now.
Yeah, this is probably a good point to wrap up because, like I said, there's actually a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, we haven't even gone into the dissolution of Netflix, but don't have that.
We can say that for next week.
Yeah.
I will say on a minor note, I feel like Star Trek: Strange New Worlds is about to save the Star Trek franchise, even amongst the haters.
Huh.
Well,
Not that it needed saving. I mean, they've got a whole global enterprise, and it's doing quite well. Pardon the pun.
Well, it's because they've injected things like joy into it. And
the other shows do actually have their moments. It's just, and especially if what they're saying about season 3 of Picard, if that comes to be true, if what Terry Matalas is saying is true, then it's going to be the greatest thing to happen to the Next Generation era since the Next Generation.
I mean, it's going to be their final bow, so they better deliver.
Mm-hmm. And that's a whole other conversation that we'll have in the coming weeks because tonight at midnight my time, episode 3 of Strange New Worlds debuts, and I gotta say, like I said, it definitely brings the classic. It's like I said, I think that the new shows are actually quite fun. They just it takes them a long time to get anywhere because of the fact that they are an interconnected storyline. But it's the 60s episodic formula brought into the modern era with, shall we say, more well-developed characters that really sells Strange New Worlds to me. You know, I was a little skeptical at first because I was like, I don't know if we need to go back to the original formula, because that's one of the things that gave, as the late not so great Les Moonves put it, franchise fatigue. But this seems to be working. I feel like they're on the right place. Especially considering the fact that the hater videos I'm seeing on YouTube are dumb stuff like, well, they just had this one line of dialogue that just fucked up the timeline, and I'm like, that's all you got? That and being mad, go die mad about the fact that they cast Robert April as a black man, even though he was played as a white character in the animated series. But who gives a shit about that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, go die mad about it.
You can tell it's good because the people are mad about stupid things.
Right. They're only mad about stupid stuff because they don't have any legitimate complaints about the series, other than some minor technical stuff and the fact that they, God forbid, changed the Enterprise model. But that was a complaint.
But you don't understand, Mac. Everything that's depicted in Star Trek is photographic canon evidence from the future of a possible universe. If they contradict anything, it's breaking suspension of disbelief. And yes, this includes the fact that at some point after the first 5 years of the Enterprise's mission, everybody got turned into cartoons in universe for 5 years and then turned back.
Radio Shack went out of business, so that's why they had a run on incandescent bulbs and Jolly Rancher micro switches.
Yeah.
I could go on forever, but I won't. It's just I always loved the fact that they would just look at a breadboard with blinking lights on it, and you could tell that like Leonard Nimoy was imagining a hologram appearing before his very eyes. That's just how good of actors they really were. It was convincing you that plywood, indoor-outdoor carpeting, and incandescent bulbs could take us to the future. Yeah. And they've said as much many, many times in conventions. It's just people choose not to listen.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's our show for today. So I hope everybody had a good time. I know we had a pretty lively discussion at the end there, and again, thanks to our guest for being a champ. I was really tired. I don't know how I made it through this episode today, but here we are. So that's it for this week. Next week we have, this is kind of a long one, so let me read this carefully. Do you have any idea how to pronounce this person's last name, Adam? Robert? Bureco?
Does Adam ever know how to pronounce a name?
Shut up, you.
I wouldn't know. I don't listen to your show.
Just do first names from the outlet until next week, and then we'll do the full names.
Probably Bureco.
Bureco? Okay.
Probably. Yeah. I don't know though.
Okay. Well, we have Robert and then we have Azure Alex of Surreal Resolutions. They're the hosts and producers of a Music Foes podcast, Decibel Boost, and the anime themed podcast, Podcast ONA. Podcast ONA? We'll ask them the proper way to say their shows when we get them on there.
We'll fix all this next week.
Yeah, we'll sort all this out, but that's the gist of it. So if you guys want to do your Google foo and give us the answers, I'll be looking for you in the comments as I continue my shows throughout the week. And of course, tomorrow I'll be working on Final Fantasy IV: The After Years, so be sure to tune in for that at 8 p.m. Pacific on this very channel. Until next time, I'm your host on behalf of the crew at Moonhawk Studios Presents. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, kids.